Hello and welcome to another episode of the Talking NorCal podcast, the official podcast of Active NorCal. I'm your host, Zach. With me here, as always, it's Bushwood Bobby. How you doing, Bob?
I'm doing great.
I like your hat.
Thank you.
You have a new Bushwood champion hat. What's the story behind that?
So there was a movie made in 1980
I'm well
called
aware.
Caddyshack.
I'm well aware.
Where the Bushwood Country Club is the country club where everything went down. That is where the Caddyshack occurred. And this hat is, it's the Caddy Championship, which is the tournament Danny won in the movie Caddyshack. I also thought it was just a good, sharp-looking golf hat. I needed another one because I sweat through my other one rather quickly. So I bought this one yesterday, and I think it's awesome.
You're telling me like I don't know. During quarantine, I read the Caddyshack book. It's like 500 pages of the complete everything that happened during the making of Caddyshack.
I watched the movie earlier today.
I know everything there is to, well, not everything, but I know most things there are to know about the movie Caddyshack. But I like the hat. Bushwood Bobby in the house. Thank you, as always, to everyone for listening to the Talking NorCal podcast. Be sure to subscribe to us wherever you get your podcasts. Also, throw us a follow on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. We're everywhere. We did a nice, fun episode last week about the legends of Northern California. Go back and check that out. We're still going through and getting those videos up on our social media, trying to time them out. That was a really fun episode. We got some good feedback on that, so go listen to that one as well. I got nothing else. We got a lot to cover in this episode. We have no interview. We have a lot of news, and we're doing a surprise culinary thing for Bob here at the end. So we got a lot to get through. So let's just hop into this episode with the Tahoe's Hella NorCal.
NorCal, we're hella NorCal, and I could spend all day just chilling in the South Bay. We're NorCal, we're hella NorCal, and there are no salad dudes who kick it down in Santa Cruz. We're NorCal, we're hella NorCal, and we get a little cray-cray when we visit the East Bay. We're NorCal, we're hella NorCal.
It's a fine June day here in Northern California. The sun is shining. It's beautiful out. And I just got back from a Tahoe trip. That was fun.
How was it?
It was good. I played hockey. That took up most of my time. We laid by the pool a little bit. I did not get to do the things I had hoped to do in my free time. But, you know, it was Saturday. I didn't really, like, what was I going to do? Go to Emerald Bay with the crowds, you know?
Well, you won the hockey tournament. So
I did win
the.
we won the hockey tournament. That was a lot of fun. It's been a long time since I played a hockey tournament because of quarantine. So it was good to get some exercise and, lay by the pool and just kind of relax. I was actually surprised it wasn't as crowded as I thought it would be.
Really?
Yeah.
That's shocking because everywhere I've gone, Napa, it's all crowded. Crazy traffic, busy everywhere.
Yeah, and maybe I was going to the places that weren't crowded, so that the hockey rink I go to is on the biggest campsite in South Lake Tahoe, and that it's closed. So I didn't see anyone around that area at all. I saw some people on the beach. I saw some boats out there, but nothing struck me as abnormally crowded. And I got zero traffic on the way there, nearly zero. I actually, a truck lit on fire on Highway 50. I passed it as it was on fire, so there was a little traffic because of that. And then zero traffic on the way back on Sunday. I don't know how that happened.
That is insane.
Insane. So maybe it's more of the hype of the crowds, although I doubt it.
Well, and it was beautiful weather, too.
Beautiful
right?
weather.
So it's like,
yeah.
Why wouldn't people be going to Tahoe? Not that people are still ready to travel yet. It's still pretty early in the opening stages of things, but you'd think Tahoe would be a destination people would flock to this time of year.
Tahoe's weird, too, because when you're on the California side, masks everywhere, it's very much like it is here in California. When you cross the border, nothing like that at all. So it's, two different states, two different policies, but the same exact area,
Right, yeah.
South Lake, you have one town kind of in two different states. And so anyway, it's, we're moving around. I'm actually I'm staying in North Lake in 2 weeks, so I'm getting both Tahoe experiences. I'm pretty excited about it.
And the last couple of days here in Sacramento have been quite mild, 75, 80 degrees. outside of the 105 it was a couple of weeks ago, it was a nice break from the heat.
Yeah, I think I read that like the beginning or the end of May or the beginning of June was like one of the hottest weeks on record for that time. Like we broke heat records, whatever that was last week. And then this week it's supposed to be really nice. It's like supposed to cool down, which is much needed right
Perfect
now.
from a golf game.
Yeah.
Go get around.
Well, it felt like July and May, back at the end of May, and now it sort of feels like that nice milder June, which come mid-July to August, the fiery depths of hell will come up and we'll be sweating through 100-degree temperatures for 6 weeks, but until then, I'll enjoy this June weather.
I'm looking forward to just enjoying the weather while we have it. Yes.
So we have a lot of news to talk about this week. We haven't been through the news in a few weeks, and so a lot of this is going to hit on the drought stuff. Bob, cue the...
You can't tell me when to cue my own sound effects. See, that's not how this is
Well, just cue it so people know what I'm talking about. Rain dance! Okay, so... Bob's got the rain dance music cued for us because there's a lot of developments with the drought that we just have not talked about on this podcast. So without further ado, let's get into the news of the week.
All right.
Better grab your umbrella. I'll make it rain. I'll make it rain in NorCal.
We need all the rain that we can get because the very first story, Northern California's drought has hit extreme levels. Can't say I didn't see this coming.
Yes. So about a week ago, the Sierra snowpack hit 0% of historical average, which I'm not exactly even sure what that means. I guess it means there is no snow. There's no snowpack. And, obviously, I've never seen it that level. And, I've been following these numbers back since the last drought. They never got to 0. So I hopped on Twitter to gain some perspective from some meteorologists, some climate experts, and some of them, and I usually go to Daniel Swain. Daniel Swain, he's this climatologist from UCLA. He thinks this might be closing in on the all-time dryness for Northern California. Like and the numbers are a little skewed because climatology has changed so much in the past decade. But just looking at numbers in the past, over the past 100 years, they think this might be the driest they've ever seen it. Humans might have ever experienced it.
Well, not to get too ahead of ourselves on this, but we have a topic coming up about how some of the biggest and oldest trees in all of living existence were lost to wildfires last year. And, to me, that just kind of highlights and shows these trees have been there for thousands of years. They have gone through many, 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 probably hundreds, maybe even thousands of wildfires. And it was last year that a good a portion of them.
Let's not get ahead of ourselves here.
But I'm saying that highlights how, of course, that we are in the driest time that this area has ever seen.
Right. And, according to Daniel Swain, you can follow him on Twitter, Weather West. He's a great Twitter follow. He says that, the reason for the increased dryness and the increased wildfires is there is a shorter, sharper rainy season. And, typically we see our regular winter during, say, December and March. We see like our rainy season. Now we see it for December and March. It used to be October to April. So now we're missing out on 3, maybe even 4 months of rainy season just gone. And it feels like, when you're in, say, February and it's raining all the time, you're like, oh, this is normal. But when you get to April and it doesn't rain, or there's no rain until December, that's the difference that we're seeing right now.
I've noticed this year that there's almost no rain at all. Even during the rainy season, it rained
this year was even worse
a week, maybe, And so, last year being the biggest wildfire season in recorded history, having very, very little precipitation between that wildfire season and where we are today, is why we find ourselves here and why this is a good time of year to maybe do some trimming around your yard and prepare for the absolute devastating wildfire season that's ahead of us.
This could be catastrophic, and we're already seeing it, although it's early June, so of course we're not going to see anything quite so devastating in this. It's very, very early wildfire season. I mean, this could go till December. And in fact, history tells us that the worst fires don't happen till October, November, December. As of June 1st, this is according to CAL FIRE, there's already been 16,800 acres burned in California by more than 2,800 wildfires. That is compared to last year. By far the worst wildfire season we've ever seen in recorded history in California. Last wildfire season, as of June 1st, that was 3,611 acres of wildfire burned from 1,988 fires. So it's essentially 5 times what it was last year already. And like last year was like insane. So this is getting really bad. And I think everyone knows this. I think everyone's sort of in tune to what's going on. But, these numbers really tell a story of a changing environment that we're seeing. And, the reservoir levels are really low. Folsom is like insanely low. It's only 36% full of water right now. Shasta's only 42, Orville's 37. We can't even have recreation on these, waterways because there's not enough water. So it's just we're going to be talking about this all summer long because it impacts us in so many different ways.
Totally.
We're only happy when it rains because we really need the rain in NorCal.
It's my first opportunity to use them. I'm going to use them all.
Yeah, we do need the rain. Okay, enough about that. What's next?
Enough about the negative news about the drought. Let's get on to Lyme disease. Next story, lyme-carrying ticks thriving along Northern California coast. This, to me, I guess it wasn't a big shock. I guess it was a bigger shock to learn that the majority of the Lyme disease latent ticks are on the East Coast, which I didn't know, or in the wooded areas of Northern California. I've just always known ticks bad.
Yeah, ticks are bad. Well, but they're finding it that they're carrying Lyme disease.
But I feel like that was always the case. That was
not
always
so much here in Northern California.
But it was always the reason why you didn't want ticks, right? Like, well, first of all, you don't want something that's sucking the blood out of you, but with the risk of it carrying a Lyme disease was always something that I was aware of.
Yes, but so a study was recently done in beaches in Northern California, and it found the most Lyme-carrying ticks ever found in this region. Like you said, ticks are found a lot on the beaches of the East Coast, like New England. But, Lyme-carrying ticks are pretty rare here. And most of the ticks they found were infected with pathogens that cause Lyme disease. So that's more, it's not that they found the ticks, which they found a lot of them, but it's the fact that they are carrying Lyme disease. And in fact, the forecasters are saying 2021 could be one of the biggest Lyme disease years in record for this region.
This is another good awareness story. I think
that's a lot of these are awareness stories because we haven't had the news in a while, and I sometimes I feel the need to warn people about this stuff, and this is just an outlet for us to do this.
We grew up in an outdoor family. We would go hiking all the time, and there were several times where there were ticks happen, especially when you're outdoors doing stuff that we talk about here. So this is absolutely information that I did not know about before, and it's good to know about because it's good to be aware. It's good to think about ticks, Very rarely when I go hiking do I think about ticks, but I will now.
I do all the time. And part of this goes back to the drought because it's warmer, and we had this warm winter, and the heat now, that's where ticks thrive in the heat, Just like rattlesnakes, we're seeing a ton of rattlesnake sightings in NorCal right now because it was a warm winter and they're coming out a little bit earlier, So ticks get these diseases from animals, right? They don't just have them in them. So what's weird is the reason why they carry Lyme disease over in New England so much is because of the squirrel. There's this certain squirrel over there that they get the Lyme disease out of, and then they pass it on to humans. That's why this is so unique, and they think it's because like they're getting these diseases from mice or rats or rabbits.
They're not 100% sure.
They're not 100% sure, but that's what they think. So, here's what you need to do when you go out. You got to wear socks, pants, and shoes, which is really weird to say out at the beach, but it's true because they're not even seeing. I mean, they see the ticks in like the grassy areas, but they're also seeing them on the beach.
Well, but it's not. What am I trying to say? Not the fleas. I'm trying to say fleas.
Ticks.
Ticks don't live in the sand. They live in the green, grassy areas on the edge of the sand.
But they literally found them in the sandy areas.
But I mean, I think it's going to be pretty rare. I mean,
Sure.
I'll be honest with you. I'm not going to go to the beach and bring long pants.
Sure. So, but you think about the NorCal beach. I know you lived in San Diego. You think about the NorCal beach. It's a little bit colder anyway. You're not out there in the water, laying and getting the sunshine. So anyway, they also say use insect repellent. So that can help from getting it. But most importantly, you got to check your body after being out there. You remove ticks with tweezers, and you don't want to squeeze them. You don't want to like cut them off. You want to get as close to the skin surface as you can with tweezers and pull them out that way because they can be left into the skin if you don't. And of course, check your animals as well because you don't want your dog to get ticks either.
Is it not couth to do the match trick, the match trick anymore for the ticks?
I didn't read that, but I've heard. I think I
feel like there could
the
be
health
some
officials
risks.
do not want to recommend putting fire to your skin.
Yeah, I guess that's probably true.
But
so
yes,
I won't highlight what exactly that is.
We used
to
do that. We used to burn ticks off. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm sure it works, but
well, when they're burned, they release. They're
correct.
not burrowing themselves deeper in the skin when they're being burned.
Correct. Yes,
but we don't recommend because we don't know what professionals would say about that nowadays.
I think it works, but they would probably say don't put fire to your skin because that could cause other issues. Okay.
Done with Lyme disease. Now let's go back to wildfires.
Let it ride!
One California wildfire in 2020 killed 10% of the world's redwood trees. This is what I was alluding to before, and this sucks.
Yeah, I don't know if there's a more poignant story of our changing environment than we're seeing with this. It was the Castle Fire. In 2020, it burned 273 square miles of the Sequoia National Park. Researchers believe this is based on maps and the different mapping, and they have to go through the forest and do all these counts. They believe 7,500 to 10,000 redwoods died in the fire, which is approximately 10 to 14% of mature giant sequoia population on the entire freaking planet on one wildfire.
It's insane. Again, I talked about it earlier. I was getting ahead of myself, but I think that the fact that we're like kind of in extreme drought conditions, maybe drier than this area's ever seen, and this world's oldest redwood trees kind of being lost in 1 year. I think I see a correlation.
Of course,
it's terrible. I mean, every year we're seeing more and more of our loved Northern California area just burned and scorched, and there's nothing we can do about it.
And here's why this is really important. These trees are thousands of years old, right? These trees are essentially fireproof, bulletproof. They are built to withstand time and to withstand the elements. These exact trees that perished have literally survived hundreds of fires over thousands of years. They know that so many fires have gone through these different regions over that amount of time, and they've survived unscathed every single time. They're fireproof. They are essentially fireproof. And this fire, the castle fire, burned at such a hot temperature that it was able to destroy a fireproof tree.
Trees that are like several humans, how tall a human is wide, like 14 feet. I mean,
taller than the Empire State Building. Well, I don't know if that's right. No, the Statue of Liberty. I know that's right. The statue. They are taller than the Statue of Liberty. And this is also big because redwood forests, they're a huge part of our entire world's, ecosystem. They are the most efficient, plant on the planet of removing carbon dioxide from the atmosphere, which we know that a lot of people are trying to get carbon dioxide out of the atmosphere. There's too much. We're putting too much out there. And these trees, which are super helpful at getting them out, are now gone.
Yeah, no, it's a sad story. And again, as you mentioned, this is based on estimates from, the images, satellite images. They need to actually get footwork on the ground to actually count the trees. But, I mean, based on their estimation, between 7,500 and 10,000 trees were burned, and I'm sure that's a pretty accurate estimate.
Yeah, 10% is a low estimate, is their lowest estimate. So, and who knows how much of these trees are actually burned. We saw in the Big Basin redwoods how they were partially burned, but they survived and they're going to keep going. But I think that's taken in this, study.
Right.
You would assume that they'd be like, yeah, that, a lot of these guys are probably half burned, but I think their estimation is saying 10% are completely destroyed.
It's sad. It's sad. Hopefully we don't see that percentage go up this year. I mean, I think that it probably will, but...
And let me just say this. To anybody who thinks that these wildfires are the same as what we've seen in the past in Northern California, they're not. Because they are burning hotter than we've ever seen before. Hotter... The hottest we've seen in over thousands of years, right? Or else these trees would have died in other fires. So we're living in a monumental time, a weird, it's I don't even know how to describe it. It's insane that these redwoods are gone. So
we need rain.
Please make it rain, do 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 do. Make it rain, do 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 do. Make it rain, do 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 in Northern Cali.
Okay.
All right. We've gone from fire. We've talked about Lyme disease. Back to fire. The last negative topic of the day. Let's talk about sneaker waves. A report saying in Bay Area beaches saw 12 deaths due to sneaker waves this season.
I like how you said it's the last one when we literally are going to be talking about the Donner Party at the end, but anyway. I know what you mean. I know what you mean because we have probably bad views of the Donner Party now.
But I feel like I have good things to say about that story.
Me too. Me too. So, okay, sorry. Sneaker waves. 12 deaths in the Bay Area this season, so between November and January, 12 people died being swept out to sea from a sneaker wave. If you're not familiar with what a sneaker wave is, it's basically an underwater wave, right? It's the energy of the ocean surface transfers from the top to the bottom, and it basically drags you under feet first. And
so you can't really see a sneaker wave coming. It's
exactly
something that happens underneath. And tell me if I'm understanding this wrong. A lot of people it's a big threat because people can't see it, because a lot of it is due to offshore like storms that are like way offshore, and these huge
Correct.
storms are like changing kind of the temperature and how the ocean is moving, and it's sucking these lower waters towards back towards the storm, and that's what's sucking people under and what's sucking people out to sea.
Correct. And I think locals that live in these coastal areas know about it pretty well. I don't see how they couldn't. But people are visiting these beaches from out of town, and they are thinking that it's just normal ocean, and they're just playing. You could be, just off the beach, and you could be, pulled from your feet down into the water and out to sea. And like some of these, they never find the body.
Well, and even in this, what we were reading, even these areas don't have warnings. Like there's signed for tsunami warning, but there's no like be cautious for these sneaker waves,
Yeah,
and that probably needs to change.
It's interesting because and I was thinking about this. There aren't enough signs, but how many signs is enough signs? Like how many signs do you read when you go to the ocean?
None, honestly.
Correct.
But I mean,
also the National Weather Service, all these different parks and beaches, they all put it out on social media. They all tweet about it, so I know, like, I hear about it all the time. But no, like, just normal person going to the beach is going to check the Twitter account of Point Reyes before,
family vacation to the coast, who's to know? I've never heard the term sneaker wave, I don't think, before today. No, yes. I know I've known the idea of it, but I don't think I'd ever heard that term before.
Yes. So 12 deaths in just 3 months. And that's really the sneaker wave season. That's when we see it, boiling. It's producing off the coast and creating these different waves that create problems. So once again, this is a story of just like information. And it's, we have to be out educating people about sneaker waves. If you watch videos of people being swept up by sneaker waves, they're terrifying. And there's nothing you can do about it. And, so before going to the beach, check the conditions of the water. Forecasters are actually really good at predicting this stuff. They know what's happening in the ocean, but we have to get that information out to the public.
And, I totally forgot what I was going to say right there. It's important to understand these things. I don't even know what I was going to say. I'm not even going to try to fix it. I had something super stellar to say. Oh, not even that big of a deal. 12 deaths in that period of time is a ton of deaths in that period of time.
It's so far, by far the worst they've ever seen.
So that's what I was going to say. This is... it's getting worse and worse. So be more and more aware of it because it's getting worse. I mean,
and this subject, along with the ticks, is they're very concerned because more people are going to be going outdoors because of COVID, and the aftermath of COVID. So they're just, both of these topics are just really important to get information out. That's what we're doing. Just check all the conditions before you go to the beaches in Northern California, probably in any beach at this point, because, I mean, these were, some of these were tragically kids. Some of these were tragically adults who are very, able-bodied, can swim, and it could take anyone. It really can. So just check the conditions before you go out, and rest in peace to those people. It's terrible.
If you go to the beach in Northern California, be aware of ticks, be aware of sneaker waves, and that's all I got. Let's get to some good stories.
Okay.
So this story, great one. I really enjoy it. I did not hear about this again prior to reading up on it before today. California's 1,230-mile coastal trail grows closer to completion. Now, I didn't know about this, and so I was really excited to read about this. And
you've probably been on parts of it before.
That's exactly right. That's exactly what I was going to say. This has been in the works for, 30 years?
46 years it's been in the works. Yes, this is a big deal. This is, of all the major trails that you hear about in the United States, we're adding one to California and to Northern California, a coastal trail from Mexico to the Oregon border, and it's currently 70% complete. 875 miles of the 1,230-mile trail is complete. So, it's going to be one of the flagship trails in the United States. It's going to be really cool. And, I mean, you can just think of all the different places you go through. Starting down in San Diego and going up through the Santa Monica Mountains and, San Luis Obispo and Santa Barbara area, and then you get up to the Bay Area and Point Reyes, and you basically finish the entire trail in Redwood National Park. So, this being said, I have no idea when it will be finished. I don't think anyone knows when it will actually be finished. They've been working on it for 46 years.
Yeah, but I think what they did, which I thought was genius, and I'm sure that this is done all over the place, is they're just connecting a lot of already pre-established hiking trails, connecting them in certain ways, expanding on them, making them better. I think this is great. It's not just one path. You know, there are technically multiple paths that you can take, depending on if you want to be more closer to the beach, depending on if you're, wheelchair accessible or what have you. But it's awesome. It's really cool. I'm looking at the map now. It literally follows the entire Northern California coast. And that's what they want this trail to really be. They want you to hear, smell, all of the things that the shoreline of California, the beauty of it, bring it to this trail. Now, again, be aware of ticks.
Well, and it's also going to encompass the Lost Coast Trail, which is probably one of the harder trails in the United States to hike. There's no one around, and it's just, long stretches of NorCal beaches, and, people get lost out there all the time. So it's not, yes, you'll be able to go on like little hikes on it throughout, and I'm sure that's what most people will do. I'm 1,000% positive that's what most people will do. But like the hardcore people who want to complete the whole thing, they are going to be met at the end with one of the most grueling stretches of wild territory in California, the Lost Coast Trail. And
well, that's if they start at the bottom and work out.
Yeah, very true.
Could start at the top and work down, too.
Ending in the Redwood National Park would be pretty darn cool.
Or ending in Mexico and go, party in Mexico.
Got a TJ, after that. Yes, this is surely going to attract people from like all over the world to the coast to try this, just like the PCT. And now we're going to have like two options to go on the, you could travel through California in the PCT, which goes on the east side of California, right? The PCT follows sort of the eastern line through Yosemite and Tahoe and Lassen, while the coastal trail will be on the west side of California, and you can see basically a whole different California.
And the coastal trail, from what I understand, is a lot more accessible as far as like if you
To
hike
towns,
the PCT,
yes.
like hiking the PCT is a rigorous hike, but a lot of these are going to be most of them, from what I understand, are really, really easy level hikes or roads you can just ride a bike on,
Yeah, like the PCT, you're going to go days without seeing any towns or anything, and this, it's probably not that much. I mean, there's stretches, I'm sure, but, especially if you start south, you're going to be like going through LA at first, and then, of course, parts of the Bay Area and, San Luis Obispo and Santa Barbara in between. So, no, it's going to be interesting. 46 years. Who knows? I assume that means it'll be done in the next 10. I don't know.
13. Say 60 years total.
13 years.
Yep.
2034.
And, I see this as being something that we're gonna see a lot more stories of.
Oh, of course.
Speaking of, the next story, proposed 12,000-mile American perimeter trail includes over 300 miles in Northern California. Now, this is literally the same kind of story, right? Because this guy is really just trying to connect a lot of already pre-established trails.
Yes. The American Perimeter Trail, created by Rue McKenrick. He lives in Bend, Oregon. So he did like the Triple Crown of trails, which is what? It's PCT, Appalachian, and what's the third? I forget.
Continental Divide.
The Continental Divide. So he's like, this is his life, is doing these treks. And so he's basically trying to create this trail, and I think he's done most of it already, which is it comes down through Oregon from Bend. Of course, it starts in Bend because that's where he lives. And it comes down through Mount Shasta, Lassen, Tahoe, and Yosemite. Basically, that might be the PCT, I assume. He's just using the PCT to connect. And then you're going to loop around through Arizona, New Mexico, Texas, then come back up through the Midwest and finish in the northern states. So yeah, I had a lot of questions. This guy, he wants to like make it his life's work, and he says he thinks it's going to take decades to complete. Could anyone really do this in one trip, you think?
No, I don't think so. It's 12,000 miles. I mean, this guy has totaled almost 8,000 miles. So this is 50% again what he's already done. So I don't think this is. I don't see a lot of people doing this, but
people will do it.
I'm sure. Connecting trails and encouraging people to get outside and hike is always a good thing. But yeah, he thought of this 10 years ago. He's only been working on this for 10 years. We just talked about a 1,200 mile trail. This is a 12,000 mile trail. The 1,200 mile trail has been in the works for 46 years. This guy's been thinking about this for 10. So decades, I think that's a safe assumption.
Yes. PCT is 2,650, 2,650 miles. It's basically 5 times that. So you think it takes 3 to 4 months to complete the PCT. It could take a year to a year and a half to complete.
And you got to schedule that right to where you're in.
Yes, I was thinking
areas where it's not. Where you're not the Donner Party in the winter.
Yeah. I mean, I assume the South is okay, but you're going to come through the Midwest, and then you're going to finish in, like, South Dakota or North Dakota,
you'd have to
wherever.
start north and like, the winter months in, like, Texas and those border states. Because if you look at his map, the higher end, all of those are, like, the coldest areas.
But if you take a year and a half, you could, like, skip all those, I suppose. It'd be really freaking hard to do it. Really hard to do the American Perimeter Trail, 12,000 miles.
So maybe you start in his home. So the way that I see on his map, he starts there in Oregon, and it looks like it goes down.
Yeah.
But if you started and went up,
then
you could work your way back down.
But you can't finish in Tahoe. You can't finish Yosemite Tahoe in the winter.
Well, and you can't finish in a year probably. So you're probably going to have multiple winters, right?
Yeah. This is you think we'll see this in our life?
I'm never going to try it. I mean, it's not. I'm not part of this. This is not something that I will do. I commend this guy for wanting to do it. It's a lot of trail, but again, anything that's encouraging people to get outside, I think is a good idea.
Yeah. I think it's cool how they're making these new trails, and we certainly have a lot of new trails coming to Northern California, and this is just one. But this is outdoor tourism at its best, and you put a name to it, you connect it to places like Texas and wherever else it was going, Kansas, I don't even know, and you have like a strong marketing pitch. But I don't think we'll ever see it in our lifetime.
You know who this reminded me of, the story?
Who?
Our good buddy Ryan Spitz.
Yeah, he's going to be 80 by the time he finishes it. So
well, but this Ryan Spitz, in one of the very first episodes we ever did, he talked about him kind of writing maps and building maps just to kind of do this similar of stuff. And so I'm sure Ryan has heard of this story, and
which he did.
Stories.
He made one for 260 miles, and I think that was hard because you're dealing with different Forest Service land, like stuff that doesn't connect. You have to get permits. You have to do clear cutting. This is a big ass job.
Yeah, and he was doing a lot of the portion of his races were not already established.
Right.
He had to kind of establish them himself.
Yeah, but I mean, it's 12,000 miles.
It's a massive undertaking.
You have to think that 3,000 are undeveloped.
Well, you're going to have every state in that jurisdiction's help, and so is this a big undertaking?
It's his life's work. Hey, I'm sure based on the publicity I saw this getting that he will be able to get some funding for it. So
yeah, I hope so. I wish this guy the best of luck.
Yeah.
Okay, last story. Now, again, it's got, you mentioned it possibly being a negative story, but it's part of our history, so we got to talk about it. A report illustrates how Native Americans attempted to help the Donner Party. Now, this is wild to me because this has never been talked about before. Because there's really no written history of there being any Native Americans coming in that area and contacting the Donner Party.
Well, it's funny because I think some of these people have known this for a long time.
But talking about the Native American community.
Well, the Native Americans certainly, but like these people who wrote this report, these reports take forever to write, and I think they've known about it for like a decade. But they just put all their information together, and so here's the backstory: the Donner Party got stuck in the Sierra in October 1846. If you don't know the story of the Donner Party, they are famous for cannibalizing each other to survive. Now, and we actually have written a lot about the Donner Party on our website. They made some key mistakes when they, traveling from wherever they did. I think it was Missouri to California, including getting stuck in a vicious storm, basically at what is today modern day Donner Lake. Now, even though this Tahoe area was vicious back then, the Washoe tribe cruised the area like it was nothing. They made snowshoes. They knew where the animals were. They knew how to survive and what to eat and everything. And in fact, there were accounts before the Donner Party that they saw migrants that needed their help, and they helped them. So basically, this story of them trying to help the Donner Party had been passed down through generations in the Washoe tribe. And, these people had heard about it, but no one was able to substantiate it, right? And to say you help it's just hard to make that connection if you're like a historian or researcher. Until this woman goes out, she did some excavations on the campsite of the Donner Party, and they buried the Donner Party stuff. The Washoe tribe went in and buried all the Donner Party stuff to get rid of the bad demons. So, I have a lot of thoughts on this. I'm sure you do too. What are your thoughts?
So originally in the history of the Donner Party, there was no mention of Native Americans. Of course, so when this person wrote this report, or these people wrote this report, they went back to the Native Americans because the Native Americans have a lot of oral history where they pass down stories verbally, not necessarily writing things down historically, like a lot of whatever. So he went to these people to find out what is the oral history of the Donner Party, and that's how he found out, they tried to help. They were leaving, based on this report, they were leaving, rabbit meat behind. They were trying to bring a freshly killed deer carcass for them to eat, but were chased out, were shot at because potentially the Donner Party thought they were enemies or whatever.
Racist.
Yeah, well, it's just... It's a part of the story that we'd never heard before. Clearly, it's a tragic story where a family had to basically cannibalize themselves after they had already eaten all of their cows and horses and dogs. But this brings a new, I guess, kind of a little bit of a racist attitude to this.
Totally.
To this conversation.
These people are on the verge of death, and this is like one of the most famous mass deaths in American history. These people are on the verge of it, and they refused food because they were either scared or probably more likely just racist towards Native Americans. And it actually makes me happy because you think of the Donner Party as a tragic story, certainly, and I can't say that I wouldn't eat my dead friend if I was trying to survive. I can't say that. I've never been in that situation, but they deserve what they freaking got.
Yeah, a lot of people, say that their mistakes were made based upon greed. They wanted to get there to Sacramento quicker than it was really possible to do, and they ran into some obstacles and took some unproven shortcuts along the way and ran into some trouble. And so they found themselves, had they made it to the Sacramento area in that amount of time, they would have been safe, but they didn't. And you said that the Native Americans are used to this area, but they generally aren't living in the snow. They generally will find areas where they live that's kind of below the snow level, but they'll go hunt up in those higher areas which is they'll bring their snowshoes and they'll hunt and track prey that way because there's advantages to tracking prey in snow. You can see footprints a lot better. And they tried to help, but were shooed away. So it's weird that this has never really been talked about before. I'm not a historian by any means, but I'd never even heard mention of Native Americans in the conversation of the Donner Party.
Well, like it's probably been talked about a ton within the Washoe tribe, but they, up until now, they didn't get the respect that they deserve. Their stories didn't get the respect that they deserve. I think it's fun. Well, I don't know about funny. It's interesting because they were watching these people. They offered them all the stuff, and these scouts kept an eye on them, right? Because the
scouts witnessed them cannibalizing each
they
other,
saw,
which is what made them stop trying to help. Okay,
they stopped, or they started cannibalizing each other. The scouts saw this, and they're like, these guys are fucking crazy.
Yeah, we're good.
We're good. So they waited until they were all dead, and they went back, and they just buried everything. They're like, let's get the demons out of here. And that's why if they just left them, these things might not still be at the site, but since they buried them, the excavations can prove that there's some merit to this story. I think it 1000% proves the story, but it's such an we talk about this area in history, this time in history in Northern California so often because not only did it change our landscape, it changed the landscape of the entire country. The gold rush. People were so desperate to get their hands on gold that they were willing to do anything. And, I think hidden from the mainstream history is the fact that these Native Americans they had to deal with a ton of terrible, terrible things. And this is just one, instance of how people viewed them. They literally would not even take food from them because they were racist towards them.
When they were dying of hunger. And so it is fascinating that, there's someone was watching the Donner Party when they were going through this. Well, it makes sense. If you have a whole Indian tribe in the area, you definitely want to pay attention to what's going on with these crazy people.
Yeah.
Of course they're going to have scouts on them.
Yeah, they're like, hey, let's just keep an eye on them, make sure, No, and not only that, they're on their land, They don't want them messing up their land. They don't want them coming close to their wives and kids or what their entire tribe.
They want to make sure they're not a threat.
Not a threat, but also from most stories you hear, not all, but most stories you hear, these Native Americans were pretty welcoming to some of these people, even though they shouldn't have been. Not always, and certainly every story is different. But these people were like, we don't want these people to die. Here's some food, and they just said no. It's kind of crazy. And I know every time is different. These people may have never seen a Native American before, and they were, just hearing stories from around that they were savages and all this. But for them to, be so messed up in the head about who these people were to just die instead of taking their help is insane.
Insanity.
But yeah, there were witnesses to the Donner Party that thought they were fucking crazy too. So,
the story of them cannibalizing each other came out before they even had completely been taken, found. It was.
Well, people had bolted back to Nevada, modern day Nevada. So I think they were saying. There were some survivors. I believe that's the story.
Yeah. Well. The Donner Party was a part of a larger group.
They were a smaller group of a large.
Like a family that decided to kind of
keep going, but while the other people stayed back.
Right.
But I do think that they found out about it because people were like, "You guys are crazy," and someone actually made it back to where
that makes sense.
Reno, So I should know this. We've written about it a ton, but yes. So anyway, Donner Party racists and cannibals at the same time.
It's not a positive story, but I liked it.
I know it's fascinating. I liked it too. Yeah,
it's better than Drought.
yeah.
And that does it for the news of the week.
Okay, so we talked a couple weeks ago about doing some food on this podcast because there's a lot of actually really cool places to eat around this area. So I figured you're the culinary guy. I might as well surprise you with some food. We could do a live food review.
Let's do it.
So what I did is I got you a chicken sandwich from the world famous Hot Boys.
I've never eaten at Hot Boys.
But
before.
We've
talked about it.
We've talked about it.
I almost ordered it a couple days ago, but
I wanted to do a live food review here. This is let's just be brutally honest because I gave them a good review. Here's some napkins for you. So this is anyone that doesn't know, this is the best chicken sandwich in Sacramento. Wow. And so Bob's showing the camera right now. So what does it look like this has on it?
A lot of sauce. That's not that's not usual for a fried chicken sandwich usually. Just having a tremendous amount of sauce. I'm going to try to not get the sauce on the microphone or...
So it's got fried chicken, it's got coleslaw, it's got pickles.
I don't know if it's coleslaw. Is it coleslaw? Yeah,
it's some sort of slaw.
Some kind of slaw. There's at least two sauces. One being kind of, it looks like a buffalo chicken sauce. And then there's another one that looks kind of more like a Thousand Island dressing.
I got you mild, by the way. They're very, like if you order medium, they're like, oh, you sure you can handle it? Which I just figured.
That. Yeah, I don't need that. This is, my mouth's watering, so I'm just going to.
It does look freaking really good.
Just jump in.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Good thing we got those napkins there. That's a messy beast.
Where's on my hat?
No, it didn't get on your hat. This is great podcasting, by the way. If you're listening to this, Bob is just chowing down. He took one big bite. He ate a pickle just now.
Okay.
Slaw is falling out of this thing. And
initial reaction, this is incredible.
Isn't it?
I'm not usually a fan of you toss fried chicken in sauce because that soggies it a little bit, you know? But this is awesome. The heat is, it's super messy, which is your favorite kind of food.
No, it's not. It just, if you toss it in sauce, you just have to do it on the spot, right? Because it usually takes a little bit whenever I order from there. What else? What do you taste here?
Texture. Good texture. When you got fried chicken, you got a really soft bun. Soft buns are crucial to me because if you have to bite through a hard bun, it ruins everything else because all of the texture on the inside. So you got the crispiness of the fried chicken. You're getting a little bit of a texture of the slaw. The mayo-based dressing that's more like a Thousand Island dressing, it cools it off a little bit because of the heat of the buffalo chicken style. It's probably not a buffalo chicken. It's more of like a Nashville hot chicken style.
It's like Louisiana style, I want to say.
Louisiana style is just going to have a lot of cayenne in the oil. They're going to have like a cayenne-based oil that they toss it in. The heat is perfect. It's mild. It's not... I probably could have had the spicier one, but I would not have enjoyed it as much. It would have taken away. I like that it's in it's wrapped in paper. That is very old school to me. I very much like that. It's got the checkered print.
Compared to what? Compared to being wrapped in like tinfoil type thing?
Yeah, maybe. Yeah. It just feels more kind of classic deli to me. We're going to do a 10-point scale on this?
Yeah, you want to do a 10-pointer?
10 being the best chicken sandwich I've ever had. Well, that's up there. I'll give this I'm going to give this an 8.8.
8.8. Yeah.
8.8. I think this is phenomenal.
Yeah, I did a review of this, a month ago, and I thought it was the best chicken sandwich I've ever had. I can't think of a more unique experience with the crisp of the chicken and with the slaw and the sauce. It's messy. Don't get me wrong.
Oh, yeah.
And they're right here in Midtown. World famous Hot Boys, and I got it for lunch once, and I was just a mess. Like, it was so hard to eat it in the office here.
World famous Hot Boys.
There's always a bunch of
This is
people out
their
there.
original chicken sandwich, you said?
This is the original. This is the mild original with slaw and pickles, like everything on it, basically.
It's incredible. It's
Yeah.
delicious. If you're in Sacramento and you like a fried chicken sandwich that has an amazing amount of sauce on it, this is your deal.
Yes. So, all right. I want to do food review. Like, we have all this food. Places are open, so I wanted to try to like hit a couple places so we can, I guess, promote local business. There's no better time to do that than right now.
Things are opening up. Maybe we'll do a live food review on location.
Yeah. World famous Hot Boys. They have their Midtown Sacramento location. They also have one in Oakland. I think they started in Oakland, and they're kind of funny. It's like a club out there. There's a lot of like loud music and stuff. There's a big line usually. So
They sell alcohol?
no. Well, they might usually. Right now, you just walk up to the door and they hand you your chicken, so you don't actually go inside. But yeah, there it is. There's Bob's food review.
It's delicious. I'm going to eat the rest of this.
All right. Well, that does it for this week's episode of the Talking NorCal podcast. Be sure to subscribe to us wherever you get your podcasts. Stitcher, iHeartRadio. I always forget. Spotify, Apple. We're also on YouTube. Follow us on YouTube. Subscribe to us on YouTube, both Talking NorCal and Active NorCal. We have our full episodes on our Talking NorCal YouTube page, as well as clips on our Active NorCal page. Also follow us anywhere on social media.
Heck, even eating NorCal. I mean,
Eating
if you guys
NorCal.
like talking about local foods, I mean, we've done
If you want to see this Hot Boys chicken sandwich, we're gonna put it up on social media. So you got to follow us to see that. And thanks for listening. And remember, stay active.
NorCal, we're hella NorCal, and I could spend all day just chilling in the South Bay. We're NorCal, we're hella NorCal, and Darren knows how to kick it down in Santa Cruz. Or NorCal, we're hella NorCal, and we get a little cray-cray when we visit the East Bay. We're NorCal, we're hella NorCal, and we get a little mental when we visit Sacramento. Yeah, we're NorCal, we're hella NorCal, and we partake in nature's bounty when we visit Humboldt County. Yeah, we're NorCal, we're hella NorCal, and me, I'm hella cool, cause I live in Sebastopol. We're NorCal, we're hella NorCal, and you know that we gotta go, we're on our way to Tahoe. We're NorCal, we're hella NorCal.